Hello, welcome back to Klepp's Garage. Hey, I'm Bruce, and guess what year it is? Well, it could be 1962. This is when the birth of the Mustang first started. Let's find out a little bit about this. Today we're going to talk about my 1964 and a half Mustang. I'm going to give you a little brief history, and yes, I know there's plenty of you guys out there that know everything there is to know about a Mustang. I'm just going to talk about this one and give you a little brief insight on a person I met that knows a lot about the Mustang. So about July 1962, Lee Iacocca told his designers and artists to come up with a new design. Just like I said, he's going to have a contest, and Lee himself was going to pick the winner. There was a young artist designer by the name of Gale Halderman that started in about 1953-54 with the Ford Motor Company and had a 40-year stint of designing. He actually started out with the 57 Ford Fairlane, was mostly his design. And he went home that night with this new inspiration from Lee Iacocca to design a sporty car, sat down at his dining room table and drawed this, what you see in front of you. And went back the next day. Lee Iacocca comes down the line, looking at the cars, pulls this sketch out and says, "Boys, this is what we're building." And from there, you know the rest of the story. And this story was told to me by Gale himself. We had went to his farm with an antique car club tour and got to talk to him a few years ago. Sadly, Gale has passed, but he left a lot of information, and there is a book out. It's called Mustang by Design. That is his book, and we'll put a link to that down in the comments. But anyhow, this was his design. This is what became the iconic Mustang. And they started design on this right away. It took them 571 days to go from this design to the prototype. And what you see before you, which is the 1964 and a half Mustang, which debuted at the New York World's Fair in April of 1964. It then went on, and I think the first, till September is considered the 64 and a half, and they built roughly 120,000 in that first 6 months. There was 22,000 orders taken the first day of the Mustang. So at the World's Fair, this is what you've seen was Mustangs in every color and convertibles and hardtops. And like I said, the first day at the World's Fair, they took 22,000 orders for the Mustang. It was an instant hit. They had really come on with something. This was one of the first cars that you could pick and choose whatever you wanted. You could add and subtract things, and you could make it your own. And the Mustang took off, and from there on out, it's been an icon for the Ford Motor Company. Okay, so we might as well start out underneath the hood. This particular Stang had the 6-cylinder, which was the Falcon engine. This is the 170 cubic inch inline 6-cylinder, the same motor that they put in the Falcon. Now you got to remember, they had the Falcon platform already. It wasn't going to start from scratch, so the Mustang was built on the Falcon platform. Same wheelbase, the same subframe. There was no frame on this. It's a unibody, and they just went with the Falcon setup and started from there. The early ones, like this one here, the 6-cylinder, the first ones had a generator. There was no alternator. The alternator come out by September of 65, and from then on they all had alternators. So this is an early one. Also, something else that's early on this particular engine and drive line, the horns were actually on the back side of the core support, so the front side of the core support. A lot of little things. One of the big things on the early 64 and a half is this hood here. There's a sharp edge right here, and on all the later ones, this edge is actually rolled over and fits kind of like this one right here. So this is how you can tell an early one. You just run your finger underneath this, not cut your thumb off, because it is a little bit sharp. And that comes down, and if you look on the fascia is actually bent down in order to keep from scratching. And then we also have the iconic 3 little rails here. That was a Gale Halderman design. That was something he originally designed. That actually goes through even today's models. And today's models, they light them up. But that was his design. Another thing, back then, the heater in this one has a 2-speed fan, low and high, not a 3-speed fan. So that's one of the little differences. Anyhow, this is the Mustang. Very sporty from the get-go. Interiors were sporty. You could get a bench seat. However, I don't think there was very many of them that had a bench seat. Most of them had the bucket seats with or without a console. This one has a console with the automatic. This particular console has a little storage area that opens and closes. And of course, you got the rally wheel on this one. So just a nice overall design. We got the scouts back here. Air scoops, non-functioning. This particular one's got a luggage rack on the back. Does not have backup lights. So no backup lights on this one. Got the wire wheel hubcaps. And then we might have been over at Gale's one time and had him sign the glove box. Not that that really means a whole lot, but it does to me. And so just a neat overall Mustang. Like I said, it's not a real rare one or anything. It's nothing fancy, but it sure is fun to drive. And we thought we'd do a little spoof on this one here today. Well, it was a Tuesday afternoon. A friend of mine came over and said, "Hey, are you going over to see that guy that worked for Ford, his car show?" I said, "On a Wednesday?" He said, "Yeah, on a Wednesday." He says, "You know, that's the guy that invented the Mustang." I said, "Are you talking about Gale Halderman?" He said, "Yeah." I said, I didn't know nothing about that." So to make a long story short, I sent my wife over with the Mustang. And sure enough, Gale had his own cruise in that day. And he was...
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
He was very generous and agreed to sign the glove box of the Mustang. And just a humble man. I can't say he was just very gracious, very humble. Here we are at his museum, and you can't miss his place when you're driving down the road. It has a giant Mustang on the side of it. Inside's a couple of his personal cars. Apparently he likes the color red. And on the walls is just nothing but hand-sketched drawings. Some are his, some are other people's. This is his award he got for the design of the Mustang back in 1964. And just sketches on the wall. The ones you're seeing now are sketches that he did. I'm surprised Ford let them get out of the factory, because usually that's Ford property. And here's a 56 Ford with looks like the bumpers are different and the grill's different and the turn signal things are different than what was actually produced. There's another shot of the 56 Ford. If you look at the grill really close, it really resembles the 59 Ford. So I'm thinking they used that particular grill and revamped a little bit on the 59. Here's the back end of a 56 with different taillights. It looks like a chopped top on that thing, different rear glass, very stylish. They should have built that car. That was really neat. Here's a completely different design of the 56 Ford. And then also found this hanging on the wall. This was an antenna he designed for a T-Bird, but I don't think it ever made production. So if you have a T-Bird and you want to use that, you probably could put something like that on there. Ah, yes, the iconic front end of the Mustang and the thoroughbred running Mustang horse. That horse and the name Mustang, actually the name came up from the advertising agency. They had done a poll and polled people what names they liked, and the Mustang was the name that to come up with. In Gale's book, it also explains that a Hungarian designer that worked for Ford, but I'm going to say his name was Charles K. You're going to have to look this up because his last name is something I can't pronounce. Anyhow, he is the one that did a clay mold of the running horse, and it's stuck ever since from the get-go, and it's been that way ever since. So there's a little history on the Mustang and the horse. Well, let's puppy out and take it for a drive. Just out for a leisurely Sunday drive on a fall afternoon. The trees haven't turned yet, but they will be. Maybe we'll get that here in the next video. Just driving the Mustang, little 6-cylinder with a 3-speed automatic. Runs real good, drives good, can't complain. You hear a noise once in a while. I got a shock that's loose. Got to address that. You can't do everything all the time. This is really a great old car road for all the trees overhanging. We'll go down a couple of them here. Some of these back roads out where I live is just fantastic for Sunday drives. Not a lot of traffic and great scenery. We like to drive these whenever we can. Always got to watch out for squirrels, though. They run out in front of you. Squirrel! Don't see too many deer jumping out in front of us. Wow, there's a car on this road. What's up with that? So like I said before, the Mustang was just a hit from day one, and just everybody likes the Mustang. They all have Mustang stories. Everybody you meet say, oh, I used to have a Mustang, or so-and-so had a Mustang. We used to ride the Mustang all the time. And it's just a great little car. I never really heard anybody complain about gas mileage or anything like that. I mean, they get decent mileage. I don't even know what this one gets, somewhere between 15 and 20 with the 6-cylinder. I haven't really took it out on a trip. I'd like to run this one out west, maybe not the Route 66, but just out west. I've done part of the Route 66 tour. That's pretty neat, but it doesn't get neat until you get out in the western states. So around here, there's really not a whole lot to see that I want to see. Anyhow, there's another one of these roads with the tree covers. The Mustang pony car. I got my little 6-cylinder. It's a pony engine. Apparently nobody else has anything to do today but drive around. I'm not sure why they even put tops on these cars. They're kind of pointless. I've always got this one down. Of course, I'm sure when you get caught in the rain, it'd be nice, but I don't usually bring this one out when there's a cloud in the sky. We just like to drive around with the top down. A lot more fun that way. Well, that's probably going to do it for this episode of Klepp's Garage. Sure hope you enjoyed the little Mustang. I know we do. We might put in a couple bonus clips here of putting the motor back in. We had this one out to change the ring gear here a while back. It's been a while since we've done that one, but we might throw that in on a bonus clip. But anyhow, today is about driving a little Mustang, a little history about Gale Halderman. If you got any more questions about that, leave a comment and we'll try to address it. That's it for now. See you next time, Klepp's Garage. Drive them if you got them. So to give you the pre-story of how I got this Mustang, a good friend of mine, Tom, otherwise known as Dr. Cool, called me up one day out of the blue and said, hey, you want to buy my cars? Here's one of them here called the Tuna Boat. See that on the trunk? Anyhow, he calls me up and says, you want to buy my cars? I said, all of them? He said, yeah, all of them. I'm selling all of them. I said, well, I can't afford all of them. How about the Mustang? I like the Mustang because I knew he had these cars. He's been collecting for years, and I'd seen them before.
said, yeah, I'll sell the Mustang. I said, well, what do you want for it? So we agreed on a price. He says, I got to know right now when you're going to take it on. So don't move. I'll be right over. So I ran right out, wrote him a check, and said, I'll pick the car up, later. The very next day he calls me, when are you going to get this car out of here? I said, I'll be right over. So the next day we went over to drag the car out. Now bear in mind we had to pull the tuna boat out of the way with the old Suburban that we had hooked to the trailer because it didn't run and or the brakes were locked up. To get to the Mustang, finally got to the Mustang, drug it out, and one of the wheels was left on it also. That's why you see the hubcap off. So managed to get it broke loose, pulled it in the trailer with the John Deere, and there it is. There's Tom right there, and so thanks a lot, Tom.